Hey class, and welcome to your next assignment here. This is assignment 2.1, and we're going to be dealing with the idea of readability. We're going to be creating um, a InDesign document, and we're going to be focusing on body copy that can be read for both print and screen using specific font sets. Now, I've given you this file that you can download, and it contains the following things in it. And what you're going to be doing is installing these fonts on your machine. For the purpose of this assignment for our class as it stands, we won't be using Bauhaus. Maybe I'll decide later that we will. So go ahead and install them all. And we're going to be using this article, which is in Word format. So if I double click on the article and bring it up in Word, we're going to go ahead and be copying and pasting this article into InDesign and complete the next assignment. So I'm going to step you through that right now. So I'm going to go to my Launchpad and I'll find InDesign, and there we are. Okay, so I'm going to be making a new document, and you're going to be following the exact settings that I'm giving you now. We are going to have a letter. The number of pages is going to be 10 because we're dealing with 10 different fonts. We're going to not have facing pages, so make sure that's unchecked. This is for print, even though you'll be posting it to the web for me as a PDF, we'll leave it as print. And the rest of the settings, we're going to make sure you have portrait, and the rest of the settings should fall into place. All of these things are here. You're going to want one column. We could do two if we were really going to set it up correctly, but I'm just going to leave it at one for what we have. And this is what the document's going to look like. I hit preview, and it previews what it's going to look like. You can see if I put in two columns, it adds in this little thing here. In fact, why don't we go ahead and do that? Let's go ahead and we'll set up a two-column document just to give us the guides to start, so I don't have to bring them in later. Okay. All right. So if we look at the assignment, again, I have given you the list of fonts that are right here. So we'll go ahead and we'll start with Arial. Now I've given you the fonts that are down below, 6 and on. I'm sorry, no, 7 and on, because these fonts up here are so popular that they should be on any machine. If you don't have them, email me and I'll just have to tag them into the file for future students. Okay, so we're going to first make a text box in InDesign, and I'm going to do that by creating a rectangle frame tool. The rectangle frame tool is going to take up the entire space of one of these columns. So I'm going to do that as such. Okay. And what I'm going to do too is I want a space for a title. So one of the first things that I'm looking at here is my document is in points, and I don't like that for my layout. So I'm going to go back into InDesign and the preferences. And this is a way that you can change your units and increments in the rulers. And my units and increments is in picas, and other units are in points for the stroke. I'm going to go ahead and change my horizontal and vertical ruler units into inches. And then this will bring this little dialog box up, which is nice. Okay, good. So the next thing I'm going to do now is set this down to a point where I can put in a title. And I'm going to go ahead and drop this down to 2 inches. And then I'm going to make a new text box and still use my ruler guides here, okay, and drop this one down to about 1.5 inches. This will give me a 3.75 by 1 inch text box. Let's say I just want to make something that size. It's pretty easy. I can just drop this in and double click on the page, and then I could fill these options in. So I'll go 3.75 by 1. That's another way you can make a text box this size. And on this one, I'm going to move this one over to here. Now, if I look at this, I've noticed that it's too big. My boxes have extended beyond. So I'm going to correct that. I'm going to move this guy back to this little grid here for a gutter. And it turns into 3.667 inches. And so if I want to change it this way because I want all boxes the same size, I can go ahead and change this one to 3.667 as well. And then go ahead and nudge him over or move him over, him or her, over to this box here. Okay. Next, I'm going to go ahead and copy this and put this box here. Great. All right. So now I've set up my first page, and I'm ready to go ahead and enter text into these boxes. So now what I'm going to do is go back to my Word document. I'm going to hit Command A and Command C, and then I'm going to click on this box here, and I'm going to hit Command V to paste it in. And right now I'm looking at this, and this is pretty good, but I'm using Minion Pro. I'm not going to want to use Minion Pro. I'm also going to go up to this box up here, just click once, and I'm going to start to type my own thing. So I'm going to call this font type, or I could just say font, colon, enter, and then I'm going to put in leading, and I'm going to put in kerning, and I'll put in parentheses tracking. Great. Okay. So I'm going to want to make sure that this setting for this is 12 point. And then, of course, this here will be 14.4 if it's auto. Okay, see, it's auto is 14.4. Basically, this figure is always going to be, you'll take this number and multiply it by 1.2 or 120%, and that will give you whatever this figure is if it's on auto. Notice if I drop to 10, this will drop to 12, because 12 is 10 times 1.2. Okay, but I'm going to go ahead and leave it at 12. And now I'm going to go ahead and start to edit the font and fill this front part in. So I'm going to hit Command A to select all in here. Click in here and hit select all. And the first font that we have to do, if I remember correctly, is Times New Roman. No, it's Arial. Okay, it's Arial, then it's Helvetica. So I'm going to go ahead and change this to Arial. Okay, and I don't want Arial black, I just want normal Arial. So I'll go ahead and find that. Here we got Arial regular, which is good. And so right here, the font, of course, we're going to title this Arial. Leading on this is 14.4, or better yet, we could say standard. I'll put auto. And then the tracking on this is 0. Good. Now, here's what I need to do. You can go ahead and just delete this if you want. Delete both of these. I just wanted to show you how we're going to be setting this up. And you can, at this point, can even copy and paste over and just move them directly over to here. Okay. Now we're going to be setting this up as though we're looking at it on screen. So the first thing I want to make sure is I want to use this setting here to make the zoom level at 100%. I want this document to be the exact size as though it's 100% on screen, so I can get a gist of the way it would look like at size. My next step is, since we're dealing with readability, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this box, and now I'm going to start playing with both my point size, my leading, and my tracking. Okay, so to do that, we're going to want to bring up the character panel, which is over here. Okay, and this gives me all the options. Remember, you can go up to Window and Character, I believe. Let's see, so it'd be Type in Tables, Character, or Command T to bring this up, whatever you'd want to do. Okay, and so the first thing I want to mess around with is the point size. So I'm going to drop this down to 11, and that looks pretty comfortable to read on screen. Okay, and then also now I'm going to start to mess with the what's called the leading. This is the space in between the lines. So this is your leading here. Okay, so right now I'm tightening it up. As you can see, this is becoming very, very difficult to read. I don't like it. So let's get it to a point where I really like reading it on screen. I don't want to get so far apart, because once I get this far apart, then it starts to become rather difficult to read as well. Right, so we kind of want it somewhere in the middle. You may even like the auto settings. It's totally up to you. And if you kind of can't decide between two, right now I'm looking at 16 point and 15 point. I can put in 15.5 manually, 0.5 points, and that will give me something in the middle. Okay. Next is the tracking. So right now it's at 0, and what that's going to do is that's going to space out the spacing between the letters. When reading on screen, I can even go at a negative value, and you can see as they get really tight, it becomes difficult to read. So I'm going to get it to a point where it feels really comfortable to read. And I think even for me, negative 30 has gone too far, so negative 20 in this case is good. And if I use this arrow, it goes by tens, negative 30, negative 20, and I kind of like it, maybe same thing, I like it somewhere in between, negative 25. Perfect. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and fill in those settings. This is for my readability that I like. This is my preference. Yours is going to be unique to your own. So make sure you select here. So it was negative 25, 15.5, and 11 point. Okay, so I will go to and change this at 15.5. Fonts Arial. 11. Oh, I didn't put that in. Size 11 point. Okay. And on this one, I will want to drop this down and put size 12 point. Good. All right. So now that we got that set up, we can actually do something that's pretty easy. I made a bunch of different pages, right? Because this is how many pages we're going to need in the document. Now, if you want practice setting up text boxes and whatnot, you can go through and go ahead and try to do the same thing. But what we could do is just copy this page into the next one. All right. And for a little bit of a, well, what I'm going to do is, no, never mind. We won't do that. Okay. So let's go ahead and do that then. I'm going to just delete the rest of these pages. And then I'm going to go ahead and drag this down here. Okay, right? So we see that there. I'll drag this one down. And I'll drag this one down. And I have no idea why this one's white. That just must be a glitch. I mean, we're actually seeing some kind of weird glitch here that's making this white. Because if I click on it, that's not there. Okay, so now we'll look, and our next font type is Helvetica. All right, so we will go ahead and with this box, with both of these boxes selected, we will change the font to Helvetica. So I can go to my character tab. All right, so we'll go to Helvetica. I don't want black condensed. I want Helvetica just regular. Ooh, and that one gave me Helvetica T1, so I want Helvetica TT regular. I don't want any of the Helvetica new. I have a lot of different ones, so I'll just say Helvetica TT regular. If you just have Helvetica regular in yours, then just use that one. Okay, fabulous. So we're going to go ahead and go up here and change this again. Helvetica, and all of these settings are going to be the same for this one. And now for Helvetica, I'm going to go through, and again I have to remind myself to go to 100%. Okay, I'm looking at just Helvetica here, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go through and figure out For Helvetica, it looks like it needs a little more space between the fonts with tracking because it seemed kind of tight. The font is a little bit larger than Arial was. Maybe I'm wrong. I might even bump. I kind of like it at the. I almost like it at the 12 point more in this one. So maybe I'll go to 11.5. Okay, and then now I will go here, and then I think it's too spaced out. No, I like it's. I really like it at 16. Maybe I don't. 15. Yeah, 15 is pretty good. Okay, so I now have this at 0, 15, and 11.5. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and change this to 0, 15, and 11.5. Great. All right, so once I've done this for every page in this document with all the fonts that I've given you, you can then turn it in. So I'm going to go ahead and take these 5 pages and copy them just to show you what it's going to look like. And I will go to File and Export. And now we're going to export the PDF. So I'll want to put it in my readability folder that I had made. And I will go ahead, I can retitle it as layout example, but I'll just call it assignment 2, 1, or you can call it readability, whatever you'd want, just so that you can categorize it yourself. We will be submitting this as a PDF for print. We'll hit save. Okay, and I would just say go ahead and save it as a high quality print, and most of the defaults should be just fine of what you've been doing. And we export, and it says there are overset text on these pages. Now let me show you what that is real quick. I'm going to hit OK and export it. This is totally cool, but what you have happen because I've given you too much text to fit into a box, it has this text here that is overset. Right now, one of the cool little things with InDesign is I can then link it to other text boxes. So like if I wanted this story to continue over here, I could do that. And the way you do that is by having a blank box. You click on this little plus that has the red. It brings the story, and then I'll link it here. And then if you notice, what happens is as I change this story, let's say I add in lines, it affects this other side. So it basically links these two together, which is typical for magazines. You know, magazines and newspapers, you'll have one article. I'll make this the correct size. You'll have one article, and as you edit it, you know, the text will run off to other places. So this will be something we'll be working with in a later project. You're not doing it now, but I figured I would just show you. And again, when you've started to work on this and you've set up your project, make sure you save it. And I would suggest you save it after every page. And probably the best place to save it would be inside the inside your readability folder, right? Because you want to keep everything together. Okay, so I'll go ahead and save this as assignment 2.1. Okay, good. So now that I have that saved as a PDF, when it's all done, I can upload it online into the Canvas document. And of course, here we go. Here's the assignment 2.1 as PDF, and you can see that it laid it out nicely. All right, good. Lastly, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be uploading a Google form. So you're going to want to keep track of all of these settings that you've made for each font. The Google form will have a couple questions for you, and it will ask you for each one of these to put in your settings. And as a class, we're going to go ahead and track them. It'll be neat because it will kind of see on a scale where you compare with your settings to others. And are you someone who might preference type with more spacing, less spacing? You know, what's your preference on reading? Or do we have a real tight niche of people who look at type the same? And we can use this as a discussion tool later to kind of talk about it. So the link is in your assignment. Make sure that you keep these up, write this down, and fill out that form because it is part of the assignment and you'll be getting credit for it. Okay, you'll be getting scored on it because it's like a discussion board post. Good. Thank you.